I invited Johnson because he's not only a member of Career Karma and he knows what it's like being in your shoes, but he's also a student at Flatiron School, and he's doing their part-time course. He's halfway through, and he can give you a lot of perspective on what it's like being a student. Um, he can provide you with perspective on what he did to prepare. And through this process, I asked him to present one of his projects that he's built at Flatiron School. So for tonight's meeting, we're gonna just do like a quick AMA with Johnson. I'll ask him a few questions, and then you all can jump in and ask him questions for the first 20 minutes. And then for the remaining 40 minutes, I'll hand it over to Johnson and he'll do the demo. Sounds good? So I want to just say, Johnson, welcome. Welcome to the community. I just muted everyone, so you might have to unmute yourself, Johnson. But yeah, would love for you to share a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. So it's pretty much started back. The way I got connected with Career Karma is you actually sent me a DM on Instagram and just pretty much piqued me and asked me, did I want to break into tech, and that you can possibly help me out in that avenue. So at first I thought you was trying to offer me a job or something, but I definitely say, yeah, I'm curious. I'm definitely I'm interested, want to learn more. And you pretty much, well, actually, I've been following you guys for a while anyway, from Bringing to the Startup podcast. So I've been following you guys for a while, so I knew who you was, and I knew what you guys' background was. So I thought that you were trying to offer me a job or ask me if I want to be interviewed on Bring It to Startup or something like that. So I was interested. So you pretty much just gave me the whole 401 on Career Karma and what you guys were planning to do and how you guys wanted to tackle and try to get as much people break into tech and become software engineers. So for me, I always had a passion to become an engineer. I tried to teach myself how to do it, but with life, things come and go, and that pretty much distracted me away. And I was never consistent with, or didn't have like a structure or foundation that kept me accountable, or had a support system behind me that I can bounce back to. So when Career Karma came in, that pretty much was perfect timing for me, as well as professionally, where I was in a phase where I was becoming a little stagnant and burnt out at my current work, and I didn't know exactly what would be the next step for me. So when you piqued me and told me about Career Karma, it was just perfect timing. So thank you for that, of course. And pretty much I'm doing the part-time online for Flatiron School. I started January 2019. So I'm coming up on 6 or 7 months now. I should be wrapping up probably late November, early December. So I'm excited for that. But it's been a hell of a roller coaster, emotional roller coaster. Some highs, some lows, me running to the wall, just not understanding. Then some days I get it, then I feel it's okay. Yes, I hit this milestone, then bang, I get smacked again with some other problems or labs or material that I don't fully understand. But Flatiron School does provide a lot of resources, a lot of support from their staff, such as we get weekly one-on-one with our instructors. We have live and recorded study groups. We have live and recorded office hours. We have technical on-demand technical support. What else? We have a Slack channel where we can connect with our cohorts. So tons of support for Flatiron School. I'm very excited that I made that decision to go with them. But I'm definitely excited to be done with Flatiron School, because it's definitely time consuming. I haven't had a life and for the past couple of months, my Fridays and Saturdays and weekends is pretty much just me trying to do as much work as possible, stay on track, and me juggling the full-time job as well in life. So just really haven't had time to be social or do anything like that. But yeah, so that's it for me. I'm just excited for the next chapter once I complete this and actually get a role as an engineer to get it going.
Yeah, and I have no doubt you're going to be successful. And I love that you were with us. You were listening to the Breaking into Startups podcast before Career Karma even existed. I think we always say that learning how to code is like having a superpower. Now that you've been in the course like for 8 months, did you ever imagine like now that you kind of gone through this coding journey, what does it feel like to know how to code?
To me, it feels good, but I always put it back in my mind, like I'm still a student, that I'm just starting out. So I still feel as though that I'm starting from square one, even though I've gained a lot of experience and know way more than when I started. So I'm definitely always tackling, learning, try to pick up new things, see how other people code, and understanding how they code and understanding how to explain my code. So I'm just remaining a student ongoing. So this is like an ongoing thing, even after I graduate from Flatiron School. The remaining student is definitely the key, because I'm a very lane and searching and looking for things too. So just stay humble and remain a student for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Johnson, I'd love for you to, I'm going to open it up to our community to ask you a few questions before the demos and stuff.
Sure.
So if anyone has any questions for Johnson, feel free to unmute yourself, just introduce yourself, maybe share how long you've been with TK, and ask your question. Anybody?
I've got a question.
Yes.
If you can hear me. Hey, Johnson. I'm Craig, man. I'm also Flatiron. I been dealing with CK and Ruben and Timur and Arthur for, gosh, like forever now. I don't know, February maybe. But I started in May doing part-time. And after about 8 weeks, taking the time off, I was right at the first project. And I'm just curious, because you're way further ahead than I am. How much did you have to rely on the cohort instructors or other help when you did like your first project or any of the projects you've done, versus like how much do you feel like you were prepared just by doing the curriculum to knock out those projects, or how much did you feel like you had to outsource the homework, to get past the projects and get them passing? Did you feel like you were able to do a lot of it on your own, or did you have to kind of get some help with it? Or I guess what you're thinking, because I was struggling with the CLI, the web scraper project, the first one back when I first had to stop. And now that I'm doing the full-time here, like within the first month, we'll be doing that project for this cohort. And just kind of curious how much you had to, were able to do on your own.
Yeah, me personally, I definitely relied a lot on my instructor for the support, and I can definitely say that the material is definitely good, but I think I've learned a lot actually applying or doing the actual portfolio project. And with the instructor, she definitely made herself available for us throughout the duration of our portfolio projects. I think we had about 2 weeks or so. So she definitely gave, like, every day she probably had like 3 or 4 office hours where we can just pop in and just grill her with questions, or she also made videos and provided us resources too, of how some of the instructors were supporting of how to actually structure the portfolio project. And from there, we'll just go in and implement and make some changes. But I definitely relied a lot on my instructor and also my cohorts as well. So we have a Slack channel, so we always in the channel just connecting with different cohorts members and just bouncing out feedbacks. We do a lot of peer groups as well. That's the number one thing too, is the peer groups, because the way someone else may be explaining the code, you may understand it better than from you just reading it or trying to do it on your own. So I definitely relied on my instructors and as well as my cohort members.
I appreciate it, man. How'd you feel when you got that first project done and you passed it?
Oh man,
I'm still nervous.
I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I felt like I was back in school. Like, man, I'm gonna get this. I'm not gonna do well. I don't know what's gonna happen. They're gonna kick me out. Like,
I know. I was like, oh, they're gonna set me back to the cohort, and I ended up, had to take time off anyway, so it's gonna work out in the long run. But I was like, I'm never gonna figure this out on my own, and I'm gonna be that guy that gets held back, But I guess we'll see here in about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Thanks for the info, man. I appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime.
We probably have room for 2 more questions. Anybody else wants to jump in?
I got a question. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, cool. Yeah, I was just curious. I just signed up with Lambda about a week ago, and I'm kind of getting some of my prereqs done right now, and I just signed up with Career Karma today. And just, it's a lot to take in, that's for sure. I was just wondering, is there any particular websites that you know of that like were kind of like your go-tos that you can brush up on some reading and just learning like new techniques and just how to code?
For me, I definitely utilize like Free Code Camp. Definitely utilize YouTube as well, for sure. And I think those are like the two main resources that I utilize. Where it's pretty much just YouTube, Medium does a lot. There's a lot of people that's like more senior and experienced, and the way they break down or the explanation is very easy to understand. So I definitely relied on Medium as well.
You said it's called Medium?
Medium, it's pretty much just like a blog site where individuals just write in different topics and interests.
Okay.
Yeah, so Medium for sure, YouTube, and Free Code Camp.
So Code Camp, Medium, and YouTube.
Yeah.
Excellent, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Let's see. Anybody else wants to jump in about coding, what is coding, or anything like that? Okay, no questions. Johnson, I think this is a good segue then into some of the projects that you've built, and maybe as you're explaining to them, maybe talk about like how does this project get assigned to you? Like at what point in the process of learning do you actually start building your own portfolio projects, and maybe even address like what is a portfolio project?
Okay, so I think with Flatiron, I think we do about 4 or 5 projects. So this would be my third portfolio project for Flatiron School. And pretty much with the portfolio project is pretty much like it's like your billboard pretty much. So is once you complete it, these projects is what would be shown to your employers. We get interviewed, your friends, family, just showing them like, hey, this is why you haven't seen me for the past 10 months, because I've been part of a boot camp and I've been pretty much just locked in. And also just it's validation for yourself as well. Just like, okay, when I started, I pretty much didn't understand and didn't know anything. But now I built this. So it's definitely a validation for yourself that it's possible. It's you don't have to be a rocket scientist to become an engineer. And also it's just it's your billboard. So it will probably open doors for you when you are going through employment and looking for jobs. This is what be on your website, on your LinkedIn, on your Instagram. This is pretty much just how you'll promote yourself and brand yourself of how knowledgeable you are. And also, I think also with employers that I haven't got interviewed or didn't interview yet, but I think that they don't look for like you got to fully understand everything. But if you can understand what's going on and you can explain how you came up with the solution or where your mind at, I think that's also a plus too. So.
Yeah, that's actually a huge plus because a lot of employers, they actually want to see not like how great your project looks, but what problems did you encounter along the way and how did you solve them? What was your approach? And so during these projects, you're going to run into some problems that you're going to be stuck on for like a week or two. And at some point, like every single problem has a solution. So you will figure it out, but then that point is also going to be a memory that you can bring up during interviews to show your employers that there were difficult things that you've done in the past to kind of show them and give them confidence that you'll be able to work through problems as they come up in your day job. Johnson, you can take over control now and do whatever. I think the demo kind of starts now, so you can share your screen. You can talk about the projects. You can do whatever you want, and then we'll leave it. We'll leave the last 10 minutes for questions.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so yeah, so this is my third portfolio project for Flatiron School. So pretty much the way I came about with this project, I just figured out what I was doing on a daily basis. So I use work for example. This is how I came about it is how can I, whatever I'm doing at work, how can I make it more efficient and more streamlined? So for me, part of my job, I do operations and I do a lot of inventory management, a lot of sorting, a lot of ordering. And that's mostly done manually. So I'm writing down what I need or what I need to order, the price points and everything. So I just figure out, okay, I'm understanding the coding and the engineering now. Okay, how can I implement or build a solution that can streamline my daily work and make it more efficient? So I decided to create like a small building inventory management system. This is version 1, but I'm definitely looking to expand that and add more features in upcoming weeks and months to make it more efficient and make it usable. And hopefully, once I get it to a point where it's actually ready to use, it'll be a great opportunity for me to actually pitch my job about it and say and just display. This is what I created, not just for myself, but this can possibly be used for other employees that do similar work that I'm doing, that we can streamline this and make it more efficient and include it in part of our day-to-day as well. So my portfolio project is a building inventory management system. So let me share my screen with you guys.
That could be your going away present for your old boss when you become an engineer.
Okay, 1 second. Can I step away for like I need to grab a drink of water? If that's all right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll be right back. I'm getting a little dry.
Yeah. So I see there. I think Sonia asked a question on the chat. We'll get to it at the end of the call. Okay, we can ask Johnson more questions towards the end of the call. Let's see. I appreciate all of you tuning in. I see some familiar faces. Daniel, what's going on? Daniel has actually been with us probably the longest, right? Daniel, I think since last July,
Yeah.
back when you lived in Kenya.
Yes.
Yeah, and now where do you live now?
I live with my sister here in Elk Grove. It's near Sacramento, but
Nice,
still go to Pennsylvania for studies.
nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, our community definitely has grown, and I'm just grateful to all of you, to people who are organizing squads, who are helping one another. Uh, you're gonna have to make a lot of sacrifices along the way, but I can tell you that once you're there, it's gonna be all worth it, and it's just gonna be a completely new trajectory that you're gonna be on. Let's see.
All right, I'm back.
Cool.
All right, so I have split screens. I'm gonna be demoing and also explaining the code as well. All right, so yeah, so also I forgot to mention, so what we learned so far, so right now, what we learned is Ruby on Rails. So right now, these past couple of weeks, we are starting to learn JavaScript right now. So I haven't dabbled too much in JavaScript, but most of what we learned is Ruby and Rails. So, let me get to my local server. And also, this is version 1. There's really no design to it. It's mostly the functionality. So yeah, so this is the main page. So it's welcoming the user. Welcome to the building management inventory. So here, a user will be able to select a building or create a new building. They'll be able to create a username or password. They'll be able to log in via Facebook or GitHub account. They'll be able to create a product. They'll be able to add a product to their building, review a building, and then review review a building product, and review the assigned buildings that they're assigned to. Cool. So this is the main page. So the main page I'm looking at right now is my index.html. And so when we go to log in here, and all this, the way this work here, and pretty much the foundation through my application are the MVC. So these are the three pretty much components that we use to make this work pretty much. So we'll be using the models, the view, and controller, and give you a little breakdown of what they are, so you guys have a little better understanding. So a controller is pretty much, it listens to some kind of interaction or event. A controller can send the model this type of interaction or event, and the controller can communicate to the view. The model listens to the interaction and event from the controller. Is an abstraction of the data source. It handles all the data logic. Then after the logic, it sends to the controller, which is then communicate to the view. And the view is pretty much is the interface. So the view can communicate with the controller. It knows how to render the data from the model to the browser. So that's what the actual user will see. And the controller tells the view to do something with something from the model. So let's get started.
And can I just, Johnson, let me jump in real quick. So the way people should think of it is the MVC, model view controller, it's a pattern. It's like an architectural pattern in coding. And you don't need to understand every little detail, but before you all start boot camps, you can actually read a lot of blog posts that explain how MVC works. But basically, what you're basically looking at is as if it was like a building, right? And the building was the structure, and like the view is like how the building looks. The controller is kind of like the elevator that moves it inside the building, and your model is almost like a directory of all the apartments on every single floor. So I would say that's kind of how you should think about it. That way, it's all separated into how something looks, where that data lives, and what actions get performed inside of this project. And I'll drop a link for the MVC just so people understand it. But yeah.
Cool, thank you for clarifying. So pretty much all the action that's taken place, or all the movement, or all the routes or path is being taken place in this file called routes.rb. So let's go down real quick and explain it, and explain what's happening here. So my root session index, that's referring back to my home page. So just keep in mind that session is the actual controller, and index, so anything after the pound, is the action that's being taken place. So again, this is referencing back to the main page, the index. So if I go to my view, the view is the display that the user actually sees. Where is it? Oh, wrong one. Yeah. So this is my session index, and this is what this is the back end of it, and this is what the user will see. So you see the welcome, the header 1, welcome to the building, the bulletins. Then you see the link to the login, and that's pretty much referencing back to the routes RB file. So where is that? Where's my routes? Hold on.
And for those who joined Career Comma this week, this might seem a little intimidating, looking at a bunch of code. I think some projects have like thousands, if not millions, of lines of code. But trust me, you'll learn how to get around it and how to read code, and that will all come while you're in a boot camp. So don't worry about, don't get scared by a lot of code, because there's a way to read it, there's a way to follow it. So just kind of look on the left side where the interaction is if you feel like you're just not understanding the coding part.
Thank you. So right here, the get is pretty much a request that is sent to the database to retrieve some information. So this happens when once the user put their information, that information is sent to the database to make that match. And if it's a match, the post is what will be rendered back to the actual user with their information. So it's pretty much saying get login. Logins, which is the URL. Session is referencing to the controller. And the new is the action. But if you go back to our view, am I wrong one? Sorry. Yeah. So now this is the page that we're looking at right now. So this right here is an if statement. So pretty much, it's stating, and the message is referencing to an error message, which I'll show you where that's stored in. But it's just showing that if the user put in incorrect information, error message will be displayed to let them know that something is incorrect. So let me demonstrate that real quick. So if I put the wrong password, oh, that's not supposed to happen. I'm logged in. So this is the error message that's displaying, and it's saying that wrong, please try again. So now if I actually log in, this takes me back to the session show page, and it's displaying the welcome, and the @user is referencing back to my controller, which is @user new, and displaying the username that I created, which is SSIA rules. Next, let's do the sign up. So sign up also, so going back to our routes RB file. Yep, so again, get signed up to user.new. So again, the user is referencing the controller, and new is referencing the action that's within the controller. So I'm going to my user controller new. So @user equals user.new. And this is where I'll be creating the new user. So pretty much what this referencing is @user, user new, user params is referencing my strong params, and this is pretty much permitting the username, the email, and password. So this is how the user will be able to create an account within the data and be saved in the database. So if user.save session user._ equals @user ID, and pretty much for a session is pretty much sessions is pretty much it keep tracks of all the current user information. So as you know, when you log into Facebook or you log into to a website, that information that automatically displayed about user address or phone number, pretty much that session is keeping track of each page that you go into, is holding that information. So once that user logs out, then that session will pretty much would be ended. So sessions would pretty much keep tracks of the current user information. Then from there, it redirects them to the user path, and that will be the user page. And if all of this fails, so this is an if statement, if all of this fails, it go with else, and it will render the same page again. And it will tell them that the information that you entered is not correct, so you have to recreate the information again. So let's test it out. So let's go CK Gmail. Did I do one already? Sign up. Yeah, I think I created one already. Let's go Joseph 73. Did I do that one too? Gmail.com. Awesome. So pretty much this is a new user, and that displaying from the user show page, the new user. So now, once we logged in, we can create a building. So let's go ahead and create a building. And that's pretty much, again, everything is being taken place in our routes folder, in our routes file. This is where all the action is taking place. This screen is displaying my building. My building new. So this is where I'll be creating my new building. So this render, it's the error message that we'll get. And also too, you can always leave notes. So everything in green is pretty much notes that I leave for myself. It's not displayed on the interface, but on the back end for yourself for reference. So if I'm going to create a new building, let's go new building. Yeah, new building. No, let's do August 2019 building. So that's building successfully created, and that's being taken place from my show, and that's displaying the app building name, and the app building is referencing back to my controller. App building equals building new, because I just created a new building. And also here too with the new create. App building current user. The current user is the person that actually just logged in. Buildings.build, building params is referencing down to my strong params here. And the only thing I have is my permits the name. And from there, if building.save, there are no flashes. Building.save is saying that it's saved into the database, and it flashes the success message, building successfully created. Then it redirects to my building path, which is my building show page. Then if that failed, it would pretty much render the same page again to re-enter a new building. One thing I forgot to mention also too is I created a database and tables, and that is stored in my schema file. Database schema. Cool. So I have 3 tables. So if you want to picture it as the building table is on your left, the product table is in the middle, and the user table is on the right. So the product table is the join table, and it has connections. So it connects with the building table, and it connects with the user table. So in order for a user to have to interact with the building table, it has to go through the products table, and vice versa. In order for the building to interact with the user table, it has to go through the product table.
Hey Johnson, do you mind explaining what a table is? When you say table, what do you mean by that? Just so people on the call know.
Oh, so a table would be, let's say, how should I explain it?
I think it's like an Excel spreadsheet, right?
Yeah,
of all the building names, when it was created, kind of like that, right?
Yeah, so it has rows and columns. The columns are the actual names of the rows. So if you have if you create a table for a user, and so the columns would be user email, user address, user phone number, and the rows would be the actual data that's stored in those columns. Yep. So all that information is also will be in your model file as well. So let me show that real quick. So right here, so everything I just mentioned. So a product that belongs to a user, a product belongs to a building, and vice versa. A building has many products. A building has many users through products. So a user can create different products for different buildings. And same thing. A user can create many products. A user can create many products through buildings. And yeah, so I guess I'll explain this as well. So has secure password. So pretty much this is created within my table. And this is what keeps our password secure and encrypted through our column called password digest. So it's a little note I kept for myself for reference. And the validations also, pretty much this validates the information and makes sure that the validation is actually correct and right. So all that would be stored in your model files.
Can I also jump in and give people like an example? So
yeah.
Pretend like you open up Instagram, right? And when you open up your newsfeed on Instagram, you see a newsfeed of 20 posts, right? The way Instagram knows what content to display is they basically ask their database and they say, we have a user named Johnson. Johnson has posts. Give me all of Johnson's posts. And what the database does is it looks up the person and then it looks at the relationship to find out all of the posts that are created by Johnson or that belong to Johnson. And then it basically returns all that data, right? And then the view displays that data. So relationships are very important because that's how your database, that's how your application knows what data belongs to you versus other users. And it could be a very complicated relationship, but that's where you keep track of it. So this is an example of how you define what data belongs to which object. Do people have any questions about that? I know we've been Johnson has been showing a lot. Any questions so far?
I came in late, so I really don't know what's going on. Really, it's recorded, right?
Yep, it's recorded.
All right, cool. Thank you. Hey, everybody.
Hey, Sydney. Congrats on starting Flatiron.
Thank you. And he's in Flatiron too, right?
I am. Yep.
What cohort are you in? Part-time or full-time?
I'm part-time.
Part-time. Okay, that's what's up. That's what I'm on now. This must be a project.
Yes, this is my third portfolio project now.
Oh, third project. You almost done then, huh?
I got about 3 or 4 more months, about 3 months to go.
That's what's up, man. Congrats.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I had a question for you. Would this way here be considered front end and back end? Because obviously it's gonna be some of it's gonna be the user facing, but how everything connects and pulls the data from one page to another, so just considered both, or I don't know.
No, this would pretty much be straight back end. Right now, as you can see, my page is just plain white, so there's no interface user experience at all. Mm-hmm. So front end would be pretty much actually creating a layout, creating fonts, colors, create a background. That'll be more of the front. I haven't got to that part yet. For me, I'll just really focus on the functionality of it on the back end.
Okay.
But it's mostly the back end.
Cool, thanks.
And I think people remember that in the 90s, all the websites looked like the ones on the left. Now you see all the widgets and everything is colorful and spinning, but yeah, before this, it was just a bunch of text on a page. And so that's actually a great question, Tim. When you're learning how to code, you pretty much learn both back end and front end. And when you're and then later on, you can decide if you want to focus more on kind of building out the logic, which is what Johnson is explaining, like the logic of how do you validate a user? How do you create objects in the database? Or you can also spend time on the front end, like making this page look pretty. So you might want to add styling, you might want to add background color, like all kinds of stuff to it. And you'll be able to do both. You just have to, like, through the process, you could probably start out with building out those kind of the bones of your projects first, and then you can add color to it after it's done. Yeah, good question.
Awesome. Where was that now? So yeah, so I successfully created a building. So now let's go ahead and create a product. And the cool thing about this, another term with this page is I also included a nested form. So pretty much, I'll show you what a nested form is. Cool. So I know there's a lot going on here, but a nested form is pretty much a form inside of another form. So it's pretty much, it enhanced the user experience. So and the flow of how the user interact with which application on your website. So as you can see, I have a form on top of here, then I have a form on the bottom as well. So just to say, if you wanted to cut down the amount of times a user will go to multiple pages or go to do different screens, the nested form would be very user-friendly to include in everything. So that was part of what we learned, and this is what I included as well, the nested form. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a product for you guys, and this is the product HTML what we're looking at right now. So yeah, so the label is, of course, how to reference the name. The text field is what we're including right now. So I'll do, let's go with bottle, ice cream. Then the category here, select is, I guess is not a method. Select it's a method, I guess, so that allows me to do the drop down. And I raw inputted the information that you see here.
And I know there's a bunch of people who ask questions. Let's give Johnson another few minutes to wrap up the project, and then we'll jump into the questions at the end. Okay. Hey Johnson, did your microphone freeze up? I guess as Johnson is fixing his audio, hey Johnson, I can answer Sydney's question about whether you write all of that code by yourself or what. So all of the code that you see right here, that was custom, right? So Johnson actually had to write all this code here. So this page looks to kind of to tell the web page what it should look like, right? But as you start learning about programming, you will learn about frameworks like Ruby on Rails. Have people heard about Ruby on Rails before? Or Django? And so what those do is they actually give you a scaffold of a project. And what I mean by that is if you're building a project or a web page, you know that every page is going to have some sort of login, right? So there's going to be pages that are like entry pages. There's going to be, you have to load something. You have to, if you type in a URL that says home or about me. So it's going to come in with pre-made logic. So you don't have to write out how to handle when a user types in a different path. But as a developer, you actually have to define which path opens up which page. The logic for handling kind of routing your project to different pages is some of it is that comes with a scaffold called a framework. Does that answer your question, Sydney? So
Yeah, it does.
So pretty much there's
Can you
going to be
hear
a lot of, yeah, I can hear you. There's going to be a lot of code that's going to be reused from the code that other people wrote. And there's a term for it. It's called open source code. But as a developer, you need to know how to customize a template. You need to know how to customize things to make this page look unique and to make your project do unique things. I'm not sure what happened to Johnson. I think, hey, Johnson, are you still there? He maybe his internet broke out, or I'm not sure. But basically, let's see if there's any other questions. So someone asked what editor Johnson is using. I've never used VS Code, but someone in the chat said it's VS Code. It's one of the more popular ones that I've heard of these days. When it comes to Natasha, she asked, how long did it take you to write the code? I don't know the exact number for Johnson, but my guess would be probably a couple of weeks. And he was doing it part-time while he's in school. Once you learn how to code and once you know how to use frameworks, you're kind of like putting Legos together. So once you get good and you're working, you'll be able to put up pages like this in a matter of like hours. You just need to understand how everything is tied together, which actually takes longer. But once you know that, writing code itself usually doesn't take that long. Designing and deciding what you're going to build and how you're going to build does. Let's see, maybe we jump back to, so let's see, we have about 5 minutes left. Anybody have any other questions?
Sorry, guys.
Oh, hey, Johnson.
Sorry about that. My computer just shut down on me.
No worries. I was tackling some questions. No problem.
Okay. Should I continue, or does it have time to continue?
I think this is a good segue maybe into Q&A, so people can ask you some questions about this. I think someone asked, how long did it take you to build this project?
Oh my goodness. It was definitely it was definitely a few weeks because I was traveling also and the full-time job. So our portfolio projects, the way they lay it out, we have 1 week is our break week, so there's no materials that being no information, no homework or anything. Then the next 2 weeks after that is our portfolio project. Then from there, that 4th week is where we're doing all our one-on-ones with our instructor. So pretty much I had like a good month to do this project. So yeah, a good month. So it wasn't easy, definitely challenging, but I'm happy I was able to complete it for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Let's see, anybody else have any questions for Johnson?
I have a general question. I keep hearing people say GitHub. And today I went to go try to download it, and there were like 9,000 options for it. What is GitHub? What's its purpose, and how are people using it?
I guess, yeah. So GitHub is pretty much it's also another, I guess, another way for people to see what you've been working on, pretty much. So so like this portfolio project I created is actually on my GitHub. So like if you wanted to, this term is called fork. So if you want to take my application and upload it on your server, so you can actually interact with my application, or if you wanted to make changes to my application, you will be able to do that on your local server. So pretty much is what people go in to see what you've been working on from different projects. You can see other people's projects. You can also, some people have what is called like an open source. So say like they create an application, but they want other people to come on board and help build this platform, this application. So GitHub is that way to do that and everything.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Are you new to Career Karma?
I am. I just made day 8 today. So, and I signed up for a prep course last night. When I'm done with you, I'm going to start doing the second day of lessons. And I've been doing Grasshopper for about 5 days. So very, very, very new. Very new. But
Awesome,
you did
awesome.
great on your presentation. I was actually able to follow it and mesmerized by the fact that 8 months ago, 6 months ago, maybe even 4 months ago, you may not have even been able to do all of that. So that's very encouraging.
Oh, thank you, I appreciate that. I still feel as though like I'm just starting out, so it may look like I did do a lot, but for me, I still feel as though like I'm just still starting out. So
to me, it looks like a superpower.
Johnson, can you compare what is it like learning how to code? I don't know in the past if you played a musical instrument or like how would you compare the process of learning how to code, just so people can kind of relate or understand?
So now it's like I look at websites, application, totally different now. Like software, hardware. I'm like, okay, I understand what they're doing now. I can create that on the back end now. So I have like a totally different viewpoint of like how technology and how like software applications or anything is being used and created and stuff now. So it feels great because now like any ideas or anything I'm doing on my daily life that I feel as though I can create, make it more efficient, I can actually test it out and actually build it and create a validation for myself, which is exciting. So I have like tons of project and ideas that I'll be working on, which is exciting. One project in mind that I'm definitely will be tackling is I want to build out my high school. I want to build out like a alumni database for like current students that's in high school now, where we have a database with all the alumni that graduated, that's in different professions, where this database will be able to, where they'll, like if it's seniors that they get ready to graduate and they want to jump into software engineer, they'll be able to go in this alumni database and who graduated from this high school that's in this field, and they'll be able to connect with them via social media, email. So that's one of my projects I had like years ago, but now I can actually picture that I can actually go ahead and actually create it now. So I'm very excited about that.
Let's do one more question. Let's do a question from someone who recently joined Career Karma. Anybody want to jump in and ask Johnson any questions?
Hey, Johnson, this is Humberto. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Hey, I've been teaching myself coding for about a year now, and one of the things I struggle with is knowing when to actually use certain types of logics. What kind of advice can you give me as far as what you've encountered in the when you first started your boot camp as dealing with that kind of, if you even had that similar issue?
I think with logic, I know what they usually say is pretty much just write it out, like just write it out in plain English. I mean, write it out and just write it out, and from there, once you write it out, you can start to understand. Okay, this is what has to be created, and from there you can start actually building out the code. So what is called? Is it called pseudocode? If I'm saying if that's the term?
Yep.
Yeah, pseudo.
Yeah, so pretty much just write the terminology out, and from there, once you write it out, you definitely have like a better understanding. Okay, this is what I'll need to do to actually create that code and stuff to make it work.
Cool. Thanks, Johnson.
No problem.
Johnson,
Thank you.
do you think the boot camp helped you? Like, do you think you would be able to be where you are today if you were learning on your own, or like for people who are considering either doing a boot camp or going the South Face route? What advice do you have for them?
No, I definitely think I know now. I don't think I know that the boot camp definitely helped me a lot. It gave me balance. It gave me structure. I know for a fact if I was trying to do it myself, I would have probably been not giving up, but I wouldn't have been as consistent with it with every day. No matter if it's 30 minutes, an hour, or if it doesn't matter if I'm not even actually coding, but listening or reading some type of information to keep me on track. If it wasn't for the structure that I have with in these boot camp in this boot camp, I think I wouldn't be where I'm at now in the boot camp for sure. And of course, the support system from Career Karma, my cohorts, my instructors, Twitter. Also, Twitter is big with the support. Just having someone or group that's behind, that's not actually motivating you, but they're actually going through the same thing that you're going through. So you know that you're not alone. So that's definitely a plus.
Yeah. Can you share what is your how is the course structured? I know it's part-time, but is it specific hours during the evening, or what does your day or night to night look like?
So for me, I had to test it out a few different ways with the timing. So I had to actually reduce some hours at work to give myself a little more time. I started waking up a little early, so I wake up between 5:30 and 6 in the morning. So from there, I'm pretty much coding, then go to work. Occasionally on my lunch break, I'm coding or listening to something or reading something dealing with code. Then in the evening, I'm coding before I go to bed. Then I'm dreaming of coding again, so it's 24/7. But the way with Flatiron is structured with the online, every week you get a coursework to be completed. So it's self-paced at your own pace. It's required that you dedicate at least 25 to 30 hours a week or more. Every week you get a one-on-one with your instructor, a live video chat with your instructor. Also, there's about 2 or 3 study groups pertaining to our cohorts that instructor set up that we can opt in from study groups and office hours. And also within Flatiron alone, there's other study groups that's taking place too. So if you wanted to jumpstart and jump in a study group with JavaScript, or jumpstart on a study group with data science or UX, you're more than welcome to do that and just get the feel of those as well. And it's also on the Flatiron platform called LearnCo. There's on-demand technical support. So if you're going through a lab or material, you don't fully understand, you just pretty much just hit the on-demand technical support, and you get someone instantly that pops in, can help you answer any questions. Then if you don't fully understand, they'll pretty much pop in a Zoom link, and they'll pretty much start pair programming right there and there and try to help you out to solve that lab or any question that you have and everything.
Awesome. I think that gives people a lot of context, because the question I get asked a lot is like, I have to work, so like I can't make it every night, or I might be taking care of my kids. So it sounds like you get a lot of flexibility, but you, no matter how you put it, you still need to find that 25 hours a week to stay on top of it.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I know if the one thing I can say is try to complete as much as you can, because if you miss like a week of work, then you already know next week you're getting another set of coursework. So it's if you behind a week or two, pretty much just do your best to catch up, because once you start piling those weeks, it'll be hard to catch up and everything for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Johnson, it's a pleasure having you back. Awesome to see someone who literally started with us a little over or close to a year ago, now building apps and bringing their ideas to life, and you're just getting started. And so I shared your Twitter link in the chat. I think for anyone on this call who enjoyed it, we always say build out your network, connect with people at your stage, a stage ahead of you, people who've been through this process. And so tweet at Johnson, show him some love, show him how much you enjoyed his workshop, and then keep in touch with him. And if you have any questions, reach out to each other, organize study groups, and don't give up. This is something that everyone can do. So you just got to keep going and not stop. Let's give Johnson a round of applause, and thanks a lot, man.
Well, appreciate it. Definitely. Thank you to let me show my project. Really appreciate that. So if you guys have questions or just want to pair or bounce ideas, definitely hit me up on the Career Karma app, on Slack, on Twitter, email. I'm always here to help and support any way possible for. So.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Johnson. Have a great night.
And thank you.
Career Karma's community. Great seeing everyone.
Bye.
Take care.